My girlfriend was assaulted, and I want to break up with her. I understand that I might immediately seem like a jerk and probably get a lot of hate, but I need your opinions. This text will be long because I simply don't know what I can leave out. And to be honest, I need to let it out. A year ago, actually, a year and 1 month ago, my girlfriend was assaulted while she was walking home from work. Luckily, she wasn't killed, but the attacker threatened her with a weapon. Fortunately, there were cameras in the parking lot of the store where she works, and a bank camera across the street recorded the attacker's car. Thanks to that, the police were able to arrest him the very next day. With the available video, footage, and DNA analysis, he didn't even try to deny it and simply pleaded guilty in exchange for avoiding the maximum sentence. Because of aggravating circumstances, the presence of a weapon, the judge gave him 20 years, with the possibility of parole for good behavior, meaning he could be out in about 10 years. I'm telling you all this so you understand. The attacker will not threaten her again, at least for the next decade. Obviously, it was a very traumatic event in her life, and although I wasn't the direct victim, it was a huge shock for me too. I can't even imagine what she went through, and I'm not comparing my situation to hers. But I fell into a deep depression because I couldn't protect her, and the thought that someone else hurt her so badly was unbearable. Right after it happened, she didn't want to see me. I understood. It hurt, but I accepted it. Her parents took her from the hospital, and for a whole week I didn't hear from her at all. I guess it made sense, but I thought she could have at least sent a short message saying she was okay. A week later, her sister called and said she was staying with her parents and would call me in a couple of days. But she never called. Instead, I got another message from her sister, saying my girlfriend wanted me to come over for a few minutes to talk. I went right away. Her mother met me, reserved and cold, explaining how I should behave and what I could say. I was also told not to touch her, not to hug or even reach out. Okay, I get it. It's a serious trauma. They were probably consulting psychologists on how to handle such situations. I agreed. I walked in. She was sitting on a chair, her father next to her, her sister on the couch. As soon as I entered, her sister began speaking for her, saying my girlfriend wanted me to know she was okay, but she'd been through severe trauma and was thankful for my understanding. My girlfriend didn't say a single word to me and barely looked at me. This was right after the incident, and I tried to be understanding, but honestly, the whole situation was painfully awkward. I went home and tried to focus on how I could help her. I started Googling how to support survivors of assault and what to expect. She began seeing a therapist, first twice a week, then once a week after 2 months. At that time, she finally contacted me herself and suggested meeting at a cafe. When I arrived, she was already sitting there. By then, she was so heavily medicated she seemed like a zombie. No emotions, mechanical speech. Basically, she wanted to tell me she couldn't be in a relationship with me right now until she dealt with some internal issues. Of course, I said. I understood. By that point, it had been almost a month since the assault, and I had already been living with that understanding. I told her I'd be there for her, that if she needed space, a shoulder to cry on or anything, I was there. I began to say I loved her, but she cut me off, saying she didn't want to hear that right now and I should respect her wish. That hurt and surprised me, but I agreed. The next day, she started texting me. Nothing special, just little things. I took it as a step toward rebuilding our relationship. This went on for about a month and a half. Finally, I suggested dinner. She didn't respond for 2 days, then said she needed to discuss it with her therapist first. In the end, she agreed, but set the date for a month later. By then, it had been almost 4 months since the assault, and in all that time, we'd had only 2 private conversations, one alone, one awkward one with her family. Another important point, no one told me anything about her condition. I understand I'm not her husband or family, and technically I'm not entitled to know. But damn, They could have sent me a single message or made one phone call to say how she was doing and whether therapy was helping. We met at a small bistro. We used to visit often. I arrived first and waited for half an hour. I texted her asking where she was, and she just replied, "On my way." When she arrived, I asked how she was, but she sharply told me not to ask personal questions. We ate, and afterward I wanted to sit and talk because I missed her, the person I'd spoken to almost every day for the last 3 years. But as soon as she finished eating, she said she wanted to go home. I asked her to stay a few more minutes, but she began to look nervous. I didn't want to upset her, so I just said I loved and missed her. She stood up and left. The next day, she texted me again like nothing happened. We started meeting for lunch once a week, and she gradually became more relaxed, staying longer, talking more. She got a new job and told me about it. This went on for 4 more months. I was happy to see her, but honestly, I felt very lonely because we didn't even hold hands. One day, she simply didn't show up for our meeting. I texted to check if she was okay. No response. I called her parents just to make sure she was safe. They started evading my questions, and I got angry. I needed to know where she was and what she was doing, just to make sure she was all right. Eventually, her mother said yes, she was fine, but not to expect to hear from her for a while. I suspected she'd had a relapse and was back in the hospital. But what could I do? I just went home and tried not to think about it. 2 weeks passed, with no word. I tried to stay calm, but eventually called her sister to at least ask if she was alive. I was at my breaking point. Her sister finally apologized, but said, my girlfriend had specifically asked not to give me any information. At that moment, I broke. I didn't understand what I'd done wrong. I never pressured her, never tried to force her to be with me. I just wanted to talk. And even those conversations were as careful as possible to avoid upsetting her. Then I got a message from her asking to meet at an unfamiliar address. When I looked it up, it turned out to be a therapist's office. The C. Meeting was set for 4 p.m., so I left work early to get there. At the reception, I was told the therapist wanted to speak with me first. She came in, greeted me, and immediately listed rules for how I should behave and what I could say. Then she said my girlfriend wanted to talk to me in a safe environment. Went into the room. She was sitting in a chair. There was a seat for me opposite her. A box of tissues was in front of her, and it was obvious she'd been crying. The therapist said my girlfriend had something important to tell me and only felt safe saying it there. She told me that the day she didn't come to our meeting, she had been with another guy, a co-worker from her new job, and they slept together. It felt like a knife to the heart. I lowered my head and started crying. The therapist immediately began explaining that it wasn't infidelity in the usual sense, but an attempt to regain control over her sexuality after the assault. My girlfriend said she didn't want to lose. Me, that her head was a mess, that it was a mistake, and so on. I felt cornered, like they were trying to convince me to accept this as normal. But the more I thought about it, the angrier I became. Eventually, I said, "You haven't even held my hand for the last 6 months, but you easily went to bed with some guy from work, while I, like an idiot, was waiting for you on a date like we were in high school." She burst into tears, and the therapist asked me to leave. I apologized and said if she wanted to talk about it, she could text me later. That same day, she did, begging to talk, saying it was the worst mistake of her life. I told her I didn't know if I could continue the relationship, but agreed to meet. When we met, I set a condition. If I was even going to consider staying with her, she had to completely cut off contact with that guy. She said that was impossible because they worked together. I said that in that case we had no future. She decided to quit her job. I told my sister everything, and she explained that some women after assault try to regain control through sex. But why did she do it with someone else and not me? I don't understand. After she quit, we went back to having lunch together. A couple of times we met otherwise, and I told her I was tired of just having lunch and nothing else. She agreed to, Come over and watch TV. That's how it's been until tonight. Tonight, she came over and we watched 2 movies and ate pizza. During the second movie, I tried to kiss her. Just a kiss, nothing more. She immediately pulled away like I was a cross and she was a vampire, saying she wasn't ready yet. Okay, I admit I'm not in the best shape right now, but I told her it's been a year and a month, and during all that time I haven't pressured her or tried to force her into anything. Yet a few months ago she willingly slept with another guy and I still can't even hold her hand. She started crying again, but this time I didn't immediately apologize. I apologized only for making her uncomfortable, saying I would never force her to do anything against her will. But honestly, I feel like I'm being played for a fool. I was betrayed. I don't care what the therapist calls it, she consciously and willingly slept with someone else. I think I've done everything possible to be a supportive boyfriend. I told her I don't want her texting me until I decide what to do. I don't want to be unfair to her, but it's been over a year, and we haven't moved an inch toward returning to a normal relationship, and I have no idea how much longer this will go on. And now, if you didn't already think I was an idiot, you probably will. I'm just tired of the lack of intimacy. Of course, I understood that right after the incident, and even for months afterward, I shouldn't expect anything. But it's been a year, and we don't even hold hands. And honestly, the thought that after everything, she was with someone else just kills me inside. I told her I'd think about everything and promised to talk to her next week, but right now, I think our relationship is over. I love her. I hate the bastard who ruined both our lives. I know it's not her fault, and I hate that I feel like crap no matter what. If I stay, I'll be angry and resentful. And even if tomorrow she comes to me wanting intimacy, it will either be pity sex or desperation. But if I leave, I'll just be punishing her for something that wasn't her fault. Thank you for watching this video until the end. Check out our previous videos, subscribe, like, and good luck.